Chris Fallica has joined us now. So, Bear, let's start with the team sitting just on the outside. Iowa State at number 6, Florida at number 7. You look at those two teams, I'd probably favor them to beat the group of 5 contenders, Cincinnati or Coastal Carolina. But is it fair to say that, given the setup and the way the committee looks at things, that if you think the group of 5 team has a chance to get into the playoff, it's probably not going to happen under this system?
No, you would think that if it would happen in any year, it would be this year with the number of I think the fact that people see 3 2-loss Power 5 teams ahead of Cincinnati and Coastal Carolina, that's the problem. I think you can make a great case right. Look, I get why people are outraged at Cincinnati being ranked where they are. I'm more outraged that Cincinnati is ahead of Coastal Carolina right now. I think if you look at Coastal's wins against BYU, Louisiana, Appalachian State, and I know Kansas isn't good, but it's still a Power 5 win, they've got a heck of a lot stronger resume than Cincinnati does right now. And I think you look at the efficiency ratings, and they're kind of comparable. But I think Iowa State here is a team that a lot of people are really scratching their head about. And look, I get they have 2 losses, and I get they lost by 17 to Louisiana, and there were circumstances in that game. There was a touchdown with 10 seconds left. There were 3 non-offensive touchdowns in the game. Charlie Kohler didn't play. It did happen, though. But I think people have this assumption that, like, Iowa State's like this garbage team. If you go back since Halloween, Iowa State has a higher overall team efficiency rating than Notre Dame does. They're right there with Clemson, like a couple of decimal points behind. The only teams ahead of Iowa State in terms of scoring margin since Halloween are Alabama and Oklahoma. This is not like some team that's just squeaking by and they really aren't getting. Again, you have to remember they lost to Oklahoma State, they lost to Louisiana. But if you look at their performance later in the year, like Gary Butter was talking about the way they're playing and that they've been dominating teams, that's probably what they're looking at.
Bear, usually we throw you in the corner on the game day set. You got a sweatshirt on and a hoodie, and now you got a pocket square, you got the sport coat. On the Tuesday night show, you step it up a notch. Just like you're saying about Iowa State, I want to throw Oklahoma at you. Oklahoma is a team. I happened to see them a few weeks ago against Oklahoma State, and I called Lincoln after the game and I said, man, I think you're better right now as a complete team than you were last year, the year before that, because of the way their defense is playing and the way this Rattler kid has really grown up. So where they were early in the year, keep in mind, you lose CeeDee Lamb, the best receiver. You lose your top backs. You lose your quarterback, Jalen Hurts. You're breaking in some new offensive linemen. They had big leads on Kansas State. They ended up not being able to hold on. They had a lead against Kansas State, couldn't hold on. They have a chance to avenge that loss to Iowa State. If they were to win and look good doing it, could you say the same thing about Oklahoma, even though they're way down at 10? If there's chaos up above them, why not Oklahoma if you're saying the same thing about Iowa State?
I would agree with it. It seems, just from being at 10, it seems like it would be too high of a jump in my book. But you're right. And I think one thing that I'm looking forward to this weekend is, like, Oklahoma's defense, like you've talked about, has played better. But you look at the last 3 opponents. It was Oklahoma State when Spencer Sanders got hurt. It was Baylor. It was Kansas. So now they face a much more dynamic Iowa State offensive team with Breece Hall and Purdy and those receivers have been playing better. But you're right. If Oklahoma were to pick up a win over the team that the committee's ranking 6th right now, and they're a conference, that's ultimately going to. This is the situation we're talking about. The only way this comes into play is if Clemson were to lose against Notre Dame. I think everybody's assuming that Clemson's going to beat Notre Dame, and we're not going to be there. But if Clemson were to lose to Notre Dame again, you're looking at the pool of eligible teams there. Well, not eligible, but you've got the 1-loss A&M team who's not a conference champion. You've got a 2-loss Clemson team who's not a conference champion. You've got a 2-loss Big 12 team who's a conference champion. And you've got Cincinnati, or a 2-loss Florida that's not a conference champion, or a 3-loss Florida, I should say. They would be out of it. So, it's a weird year, and I am curious to see if we do get that second Notre Dame upset of Clemson, what ultimately happens.
So 2 things, Bear. 1, Coastal Carolina 100% deserves to be above Cincinnati. I'm sorry. They've played now 11 games. They have at least 2 better wins than Cincinnati. That needs to be a point that needs to be made for the New Year's 6 conversation. And 2, we don't even talk about A&M. It's literally like A&M's not even there at 5. Are they still 5? Is my monitor off? Does anybody ever even mention A&M? Are they allowed? Are they in the playoff discussion, or do we just need to take them out of the mix?
Well, I initially thought that they were kind of a placeholder because I didn't necessarily see LSU's upset win over Florida coming. And now that happened, A&M is in the mix. But I think the one thing to keep in mind with the committee, and I don't know what the conversations are behind those closed doors in the committee room walls there. Like, the only way A&M is going to get in is at number 4. I will likely play Alabama at number 1. We saw that game already this year. I don't think we want to see that game again. Would the committee does that conversation come up? Do we want to avoid the rematch with A&M and Alabama? I don't think it should. I think if the committee feels A&M is the 4th best team in the country, they should make the playoff. But I think there would be a conversation like, do we give another team a chance? I mean, whether that's right or wrong, I don't know. But I think that's an interesting dynamic to see whether we would get that Alabama A&M second meeting this year.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.